Jason Statham is back in another summer blockbuster action movie that is hitting theaters this weekend, and I gotta say that this really... I don't really know how to explain this film. Let's dive into the review. Welcome back, film fans. It is Brad from Let's Be Real Brad. I talk about movies, TV shows, physical media, and do ranking videos. So if this is the type of content that you like, hit that subscribe button. Also, leave a like on this video and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Meg 2: The Trench is the newest science fiction action film that is based off of the 1999 novel by Stephen Alton, which is a sequel to the 2018's The Meg. The film stars Jason Statham in the lead role. The film follows a group of scientists who must outrun, outsmart, and outswim the megalodons when a mining operation threatens their mission and forces them into a high-stakes battle for survival. My expectations for this film were very low, as I wasn't the biggest fan of 2018's The Meg, as I found it to be a very mediocre and average movie that just felt very forgettable, and I just didn't really ever want to watch it again until the other night when I rewatched it, and I still found it to be exactly the same way as I felt when I watched it in 2018. Now we have the sequel 5 years later, and I have to say that this is also another mediocre average movie. Meg 2: The Trench is easily one of the most disposable movies I have seen this year, as it just feels like nothing about this movie actually matters in terms of its story and characters, and that is not what I necessarily need from a movie like this. Let's just dive right into my negatives first, and I do have to start with the screenplay. This is easily the worst aspect about the film, as the whole script just feels like it was made in a AI computer where they just target all the key points that they need to and they write around it, and then they have all these action set pieces that are the main focal points of the film, and all of the storylines, the characters, anything that's even remotely interesting is just put aside, and I found that to be very disappointing, because to be a great science fiction action film, you do have to have a great story. This movie is also filled to the brim with the most boring and easily accessible dialogue that I feel like is able to be dubbed and subtitled in other countries, and that is why the first film did as well, because they did the exact same thing. So I found most of the dialogue in this movie to be really disposable and not really matter when it comes to the end product of this film. I also found the pacing of this film to be way too slow, as the second act to the third act is definitely much better, and it features all of the fun and exciting action you would expect, but that first act is just so boring and uninteresting, and I get that is what happens in a movie like this, but you gotta make it interesting. You gotta care about the characters. Now let's dive into my positives with this film, and I do have to start with the action sequences, as this is the best aspect about the film, as I found the action to be really over the top and silly and embraces exactly what it is, and I'm totally cool with that, because the whole idea of this megalodon, the biggest shark in the world, and all these other creatures that are in this movie is so ridiculous and dumb, but it is very entertaining to watch on the big screen, and that is what movies are made for, to see things you wouldn't normally see. I had a good time with that aspect about the film. I also found the visual effects to be quite solid for this movie. There are a few moments where it doesn't look as good, but it is going to happen with a movie like this, and I can forgive it because I did believe what I was watching the entire time, especially when Warner Bros. Released another movie in June called The Flash that cost $220 million, and the CGI is really noticeably bad. I also enjoy Jason Statham in this movie, as he is the big box office draw for this film, because if he wasn't in this, I don't think a lot of people would even want to watch this, as he is very good at being an action movie star, as we have seen in the Fast and Furious franchise, Wrath of Man, the Transporter series, and so much more. And I do feel like he is utilized in this action role, where he does quite a bit of his stunts, especially the really cool hand-to-hand combat scenes, even though his performance is your basic generic Jason Statham, which I guess is fine because he is the most entertaining aspect. My favorite scene in the film is the mining operation scene, as I found it to be really entertaining with a lot of cool stakes and tension, and there was so many little twists and turns that happened that didn't really matter in terms of like the characters in the story, but with those events happening within the moment, I thought was really cool, and it reminded me very heavily of Prometheus or The Abyss, and it looked really good. It definitely had the best cinematography in the whole film, and I honestly wish the whole movie was just set underwater doing this mining operation, because that was probably the most interesting aspect of the whole movie. Overall, guys, Meg 2: The Trench is another disposable, mediocre, average summer blockbuster movie that is just an excuse to go see a movie at the theater in the summer with your popcorn, soda, and candy, and free air conditioning, and just to be entertained by something dumb. If that is exactly what you want, then that's exactly what you'll get. I am giving Meg 2: The Trench a 5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review, as I want to know below in the comments section, what did you think of this film, and how would you rate it against the first The Meg film? I can't wait to hear all of your thoughts. And as always, I will see you guys all in the next video.